We're going to take a look at working with inquiries. And to get there, it's the sales and purchases menu, and it's the first item in this pre-order processing section called inquiries. And actually, this is really one of the more flexible areas of the system, which is one of the things that kind of makes it difficult to talk about in a general way. But let's talk about some examples of ways in which it typically gets used. So it's kind of a task management system. So either we're talking about internal tasks, things that you're assigning to each other within the organization, or just a way of keeping track of communication with customers or with vendors. So as an example, let's use the idea of a customer who's called and requests pricing on an item. So the first tab here we're going to see is the inquiry notes. So if it's a phone conversation, this is where you type in notes from that phone conversation, or if it's an email, you might want to copy and paste the email here. So let's just say, John looking for price ASAP. In the general information, first thing we're going to define is what type of inquiry is this. So this is kind of what I was saying, how it can be flexible. These are just some examples of ways in which it can be used. So just a way to keep track of damage information, customer questions, quality issues. Samples is another big one. But let's say that it's a pricing request that a customer is asked about. This would be the user who's doing the data entry. So right now I'm logged in as myself. My user ID is Visco. But if I want to, I can assign this to somebody else within the organization for follow-up. So let's say I want to assign it to Cindy. Now, when I click Done, we can have an email sent to Cindy automatically that says, the user Visco has assigned an inquiry to you. You need to go get pricing for this particular customer. So let's pick a customer here. Let's use this Three Brothers example. And what's going to happen is the origination date is the date that the data entry is being done. That's a timestamp that you can't alter. The requested on date you can. That would be the way to say that the customer actually requested this 2 days ago, but it took us a couple days to get it in. And we can assign a due date to this too, and the due date is going to impact the status of the inquiry. So an inquiry can have 3 different statuses. It can be active, which this one will be as soon as we create it, because no one's done anything with it yet and the due date hasn't passed. It could be overdue, which means no one's done anything with it yet and the due date has passed, or it could be completed. And to change an inquiry to completed, anytime there's anything in this inquiry completed date that changes the status to completed, and that'll remove it from all the active lists. Now there are several other fields here that I'm not going to put any information in. These are all related to samples. So if you're sending samples to a customer and the customer is getting those samples tested by either themselves or by some third party for analysis, then you can keep a record of the fact that the sample went out, which is a sample request, and then when the results come back, you can tie those results in with it as well by selecting result, and then you can upload or attach the results and attach them to an inquiry. In the case of a price quote, it's actually not relevant. The product section here, this is where we can attach what product or products are being the customer's inquiring about. So let's say that they want to inquire about 3-ounce pretzels. If they define a manufacturer, they say that these pretzels must come from manufacturer A, you can put that in there now. If not, you leave it blank. And let's say that they're interested in 1,000 cases of 3-ounce pretzels, and any other comments we might put in here. They're looking for high quality, let's say. So I'm going to say update. Also, if I wanted to upload or attach any documents that they've sent me, I could do that here. If there's spec sheets or anything like that, we could just say, come in here and say add document, and then just pick what type of document it is you want to upload, specification sheet or something, then browse them from files on your computer, you can upload those. So for the moment, I'm going to say I'm done, and let's talk about what we've done. So a few different things. Now, there's alerts around the inquiries. So like we were saying before, you can, if you've assigned inquiries, that can be emailed to them right away. And also from your home page, you can do a list of all inquiries that are assigned to you, which would be my active inquiries. You could see any overdue inquiries, inquiries that are due today. Those would show up there. And And also you can see a history now if you go into that customer, for example, and we want to see a history of all the different products that that customer has inquired about. We could do that. That's going to be inquiries here. So this would be the inquiry that we just put in today and we assigned to Cindy. That was the inquiry for those 3-ounce pretzels. So that's just a way to get a history of everything that that customer's inquired about. Also, you can create new inquiries right from here. And one thing I forgot to mention is in the inquiry section, as soon as you create that inquiry, you can start sending out RFQs to potential suppliers against it. In fact, the system will generate a document to help you in doing so. So if you go back in here, let's pick that inquiry we created, 3-ounce pretzels, 1,000 cases. In Documents and Images section, you'll see this document was automatically generated when we created it. So let's edit this, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. So it's going to load an Excel spreadsheet here. And what's nice is it'll actually create one worksheet for each vendor. So it's going to look at which vendors you can buy those pretzels from. So in this case, I have 2 different vendors, President Packaging and Infinity Plus Trading. It'll create one worksheet for each, and you could email this out to the vendor and say, we're looking for pricing on 1,000 cases of pretzels. And that you can email each vendor separately, and then if they want to, they can fill in this spreadsheet itself, in which case you could import that back in, or they might just respond with email or something. But this saves you the work of putting all this sourcing documentation together. In the next video, we'll look at how we manage those price quotes that we're receiving back from the vendors in the offers section.